Oh, welcome to Conscious Design in Fashion. I'm super excited to be talking about conscious design and having the opportunity to share this with all of you from Brita. Basically, we're going to be talking about conscious design in fashion and why it's so important today and what it is. As Brita mentioned, I am the author of the Conscious Design book. That's how Brita and I got connected in doing this course. I also run a podcast / YouTube channel called Conscious Design, where I talk about all kinds of products and people doing amazing work in sustainability and inclusion and things like that, being a platform for those brands and ideas. And I also run a design firm. I'm over in the hard goods product side, not on the fashion too much, but still product development. So what we'll be talking about, we'll be talking about what and who makes design conscious. And we're talking about observation, impact, connection, and legacy, 4 pillars of conscious design, and then some next steps we can take. So first, let's talk about conscious design and the apparel design process. And Brita was kind enough to share this. Very similar to hard goods side of the process, but really the focus of where conscious design kind of separates from standard design is in the very beginning, starting with things like observation, planning for a life cycle, things like that. And Brita and Legine, you guys do this more than I do on the fashion side. So kind of what do you think about this process? And Brita, you're the one that makes the graphics, so you can talk to that a little bit.
Yeah, this is something that became very helpful for me as a designer, because back in the day when I was designing, say 10 years ago or even 20 years ago, this big picture thinking was not part of a designer's job or a designer's an awareness, I would say. So, as things evolved and now sustainability being so much more important and ethical and looking at social impact, this was so helpful to, as a designer and a creative, to really see this big picture in a circular manner, to understand and even to pay attention. For me to pay attention as a designer, what am I doing in each of these phases that, to just check myself. Am I doing the best sustainable method, the best, for the consumer, best for every, I guess, conscious thinking about every one of those steps. So for me, it's been a great tool, and I like how it's broken down. And there is so much more into the design process than I think some people realize if you're not in the industry. So this was a great way for us to kind of envision the whole circular process.
Ian, could I jump in with a really quick anecdote here?
Absolutely. We love those.
One of the things that I love doing is being on the industry advisory board for Utah State University's Outdoor Product Design and Development course. I gave my first lecture there probably 5 or 6 years ago, a seminar, and at the end of it, I asked for questions, and a student on the front row said, I want to start my own business with an outdoor product. I don't need to be a millionaire. I'd like to make enough money to send my kids to college, maybe go to Europe a couple of times. How do I go about, where do I find guidance on developing a marketing plan that doesn't depend on people buying things that they don't need? Well, I have 150 kids in this seminar, and I'm like, oh, that's a great question. But that was one of the really initial, I think, spurs, maybe not initial, but early spurs to my thinking about the fact that we're making things and how we go not only about that process, but, and I think I've also read your book, why do we even make things? Why do we enter into this process of making things? And from every step, from what we're thinking of producing, who is it for, what's the need in the market, all the things that you're going to talk about. That was this huge wake-up call for me. Question from a student. Yep.
Yeah, that's a great question to ask.
Yeah. I'm scrambling.
as we know, as the fashion industry is under the microscope. It's very much, well, why are you making it? Why do you make 1 million of this thing and then sell 800,000? And then you're gonna.
Yeah. I think if you've worked in the corporate world, it's always about the profits and the bottom line and making, more volume, more sales, more profit.
Exactly.
And
Right.
that can't be the main reason for making product anymore. It's got to be
Well,
for other reasons
it's
too.
gotta be, you gotta make the money. And the funny thing is being, I have a few slides that we'll get to of talking about the financial benefits of being more sustainable. It actually is a waste to throw away that 10-20% of stuff. It's actually not profitable to throw away.
Right.
It's not. So it's kind of a funny, right? In the corporate world, we're like, oh, make more money, but it's not always the most efficient way to do it. So talking about that, why is it worth it to do conscious design? Well, it turns out profits, we're just talking about that. It is more profitable to be sustainable. And we'll get into this. I have some research I'll show. Sustainability, well, that's kind of an obvious one. Take care of the planet. We can still live here. That's good to do. Better products. Conscious design is also about creating better products, and asking that question that we were talking about. Why do you make the product? Who actually needs it? What benefit is it providing to the users, to everyone involved? And is it providing the best value to everyone across the board, not just the dollars in the company, but is it really benefiting the users, the people who buy it, the people who sell it? There's a lot of people that go into any product coming into existence. And kind of tied into that is greater positive impact. So direct and indirect. And by that, I mean, there's direct impact that we think about, like the user. The user has it. The company makes profit. The company uses that profit to pay its employees, hopefully enough and correctly. But then also indirect. You have the families of the person who bought the product, who has having a better life. You have, there's even really indirect. There's a company that makes shoes, very sustainable brand, and there's a paper that you can buy. It's a cardboard packaging that has seeds in it, flower seeds in it. So when you take your box and you put it in your yard, because it's fully biodegradable, it will grow flowers. So indirectly, you're now making somebody smile when they see some flowers that they would not have seen before. So that's like super indirect, but we can think that far into why it's worth doing conscious design. And I'd love for you to chime in. Why is it worth it to you? Kind of anything else you want to share on that?
I could go first, I guess.
Go for
I'll
it.
go second.
Okay. So why is it worth it? I think for me now, thinking about all of those design phases and processes, it's a chain reaction, right? Now, as a business, I place an order, a production order, it goes to Asia and it goes to a factory with 3,000 sewers, and we're looking at the margin or the, retail price. Every one of those decisions affects all of those people along the chain of the process. So whether you're a sewer or a pattern maker or wherever you are in that process, it's affecting your livelihood, your income, your family. So if you're a female woman in Asia making, I don't know, $1 an hour, how are you feeding your family? And so for me, working with conscious design and thinking about everyone that's affected along the way is so critical and so important. And if I'm not thinking that way as a designer, I feel like I don't care. Like, it doesn't matter. I'm okay. I'm in the US. I'm doing great, but you're ignoring all of the effect on all those other people that are involved. So it makes a big difference. It's definitely worth it.
Yeah, it's hard to pop out of isolationism. We're all so very it's easy to focus on you and where you're at, and not, it's a lot of work. Like you said, even drawing that graphic of realizing everything that goes into developing a product, it's a lot. It's a lot to think about, but
Yeah.
we
It's
need
being
to.
conscious, right? That's what
Yes.
conscious design is too. Like
The more
before you,
conscious you are, the more
yeah,
aware you are, and then you realize that everything, it's kind of one of those, might fall into, enlightenment and things like that. Like you become aware everything is connected. There's no such thing as doing something here and having no effect over here. It just doesn't actually exist.
right. Yeah.
Ian, you're reading my mind here because I did want to comment on the conscious part of it. We kind of focus on the design process, but it's so easy in today, in the modern day, in the right now, to not be connected to what we're eating, to who's the person across the street. And once we start thinking about where everything is coming from, our connection to the larger material world, the larger world of people, not just things. And there's a real richness that can come from that, of feeling those connections and knowing that you have a choice about doing something that is better as opposed to not so good, and not feeling self-righteous about it, but the knowledge that you're contributing to the overall goodness and positivity, the health of the planet, of people. I think there's a kind of a psychic richness to that once we start lighting that flame, it for me, it just makes me feel more connected to human beings, humanness, and the potential for good that we can do.
Yeah, well, and that's such a good point. And the more open you are, the more you go experience another culture, you then realize there's more. And it's just, there's always more. There's always more connection. The more you're willing to, exit your bubble a little bit, which I feel like as an American, we love being in our bubble, and we don't.
It's easy.
I know some Europeans, and they're very like, oh no, we go to different countries, we understand, we speak like 3 languages because we vacation in France, and we go to Italy, and our cousins are in Germany, and so there's somebody else in this other, and there's somebody in Greece that we visit, and it's just like, it's so diverse in such a small area, and they don't sit in a bubble quite as much. I'm sure there are plenty of people that do, but it seems much more that we're a bubble.
Yeah.
I went to Myanmar in 2013, soon after it opened up to US tourists. I bought a pair of these incredible beaded stitched wall hangings, very intricate. And I asked, I said, well, is the artisan here? And I got to go to the back and meet her, and through the translator, got an idea of how much work time, days, or whatever were in the wall hangings, and in these beautiful panels. And I paid more than what was being asked because I appreciated the work. And when I got to connect with her personally, and she showed me pictures of her children and all of that, I can't even describe the warmth that it brought to me to actually be able to connect with her on the other side of the world.
That's amazing.
That's beautiful.
That's amazing you're able to do that.
I think if everyone, when they were shopping, knew the person that made that, you would look at it completely differently, or you'd pay more, or it would just mean so much more to you of what you bought because of that. And it's, as you are saying, like in a bubble, it's so easy to not even think about that in our little bubble world here.
So, right, we just look for the cheapest. Like, well, this one's $5, but this one's $4. So, oh yeah, it's on sale. It's on sale.
I'll take 10.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, talking about, I'll read these super briefly, but I did some research and presenting on the financial side of, is it worth it? Because at least in my world, I still have clients that are like, well, it's too expensive. It's not, our bottom line can't handle being sustainable. So, we'll maybe dip a toe in there and have some better packaging, but we're not looking at it completely. But there's such a huge growth. There's this one study is a third of global customers, not just one country, are looking for sustainable and environmentally friendly alternatives. About 85% of consumers have been greener in recent years, meaning they're purchasing more green products, picking them over potentially cheaper, not green products. This was interesting. S&P 500 corporations that actively manage and plan for climate change, they secure 18% higher ROI than companies that don't. Which anything that gets that much is worth a lot to a company. That's a huge growth. Yeah. Companies that incorporate social impact into their business have a 20% sales increase, and they enhance productivity by 13%, and their share price is up higher by 6% just by social impact. So that doesn't mean it's a sustainable product. That means that they're looking at, their CSR, what are they doing to community, give back, allowing their employees to, put volunteer time towards something and get, be allowed to take that time off without any issue. And then there's at least 9 companies globally that are $1 billion or more that offer sustainable services or products. And not all of their products are sustainable, but places like Chipotle, Tesla, Unilever, General Electric, IKEA. So there's a lot of money in it. And then investments have grown by 22% in the last 3 years. Well, it was early, so back in 2010, 2013, there's more than 11% of all assets under management in the US, which is $3.74 trillion, is invested in assets that have ESG metrics. So they're not even super sustainable, they're just trying and measuring it, which is crazy. And somebody did this research as well. If you had invested $1 in the beginning of 93, and you did a evaluated portfolio of highly sustainable companies, that would have turned into $22.60 by 2010, compared to $15.40 for low sustainability companies. So that means all of the sustainable companies grew by an extra 700% compared to their unsustainable competitors. So I use this to show people when somebody says it's not profitable or is too expensive, the market has not lied. And 93 is now almost 30 years ago. So that's been a while. It's there. And that's a Harvard business for those that only look at Harvard. It's not a random local. So it's there. It is profitable. It takes time and effort, but it pays off in the end.
Yeah, that's a very hopeful and positive facts that you've shown.
I like those.
Yeah.
I like those, because who wants to be unprofitable? I had a great conversation with someone about kind of the profitable part of things, and is actually one I'll bring up their company probably. But we're talking about, well, it's great to be sustainable, and if you could make it a perfect sustainable product, but it costs too much, is it actually a perfectly sustainable product? Because if nobody uses it, is there any actual benefit? And it brings us back to the question of, well, why are you making it? Mm-hmm. If it's just a theoretical, put it out there and it does no good, even though theoretically it would be perfectly good, it isn't actually. And so there's a balance that has to happen between, I got to make something that actually solves a real problem that somebody will actually buy, mm-hmm. for it to make a difference, and not just, well, it's perfectly green, but nobody can use it. So it's
Ian, I had a discussion with a friend a day or so ago too about a new backpack that was just like sustainable from A to Z. But I already have a backpack that's serviceable, and what I see sometimes is someone will say, well, really, I have an itch to have a new one, and this one is sustainable, so I'm going to buy it, even though I have use left in my old one. I think as consumers, we're still getting our mind around the relationship between our consumerism and things that have been designed consciously. I admit today I got a new pair of Tiva sandals. It's their Pride ones that the two sandals have like three different colors on them, and they benefit a cause. And I wrestled with it. Do I need another pair of Tivas that is supporting this social cause? Because I had a gift card at Zappos, I went ahead and got them, but what's your take?
Yeah, that is a deep conversation
That may be a whole separate workshop.
But let's dive down the rabbit hole. I think it really falls into kind of the understanding. And I know I have a slide somewhere in here mentioning it, so we'll probably talk about this again.
Okay.
But it's really thinking about what does it mean to have a good product? What does it mean to have a luxury product? And we kind of have a bit of a, well, not really thought about. We just have slowly morphed into believing, well, it is a good product if it's super durable, right? We value durability over short term, even though there's certain cases where there's products that should be single use, right? There's medical equipment and all kinds of stuff you don't want to reuse ever. And so we have this thought process of, well, and then we mix into, marketing. Marketing is still going strong and probably always will, is, well, here's the new thing. And we as humans love the new shiny thing. So then you throw in the feel good, like you say, it benefits a cause, right?
Yeah.
Well, now am I a bad person for not benefiting the cause by buying the shoe? And it's, we then start to layer on, and then we tip the scale and we go, oh, I'll get another pair. I'll get a backpack because it is removing plastic from the ocean. And at the same time, well, if you actually used your backpack all the way until it was literally useless, you would also reduce the amount of plastic in the ocean because you'd actually reduce total overall consumption. But I think nobody's really, like, as a consumer, nobody is really putting out there, and I don't even know how you would, of like, well, here is the environmental impact if you use your product for 6 months. Well, here's the environmental impact if you used it for 12 years. And comparing that, because I think people would click a little bit more and they'd say, well, this product is great and it's environmentally friendly, but if I use my current working pair of shoes for another 3 years, it would offset that new pair of shoes completely. And it's very hard. I don't know. Nobody's communicating that. I don't know anybody that's aggregating that data and presenting it to consumers as they look. I think the closest I've seen is when you buy a flight now, Google will tell you your CO2 or whatever kilograms of CO2 that your flight. But that's like really regulated and highly tracked, and the airlines have that data really well dialed in. So that's why they have it. But we don't really have that for products, like in your purchasing example.
Ian, I think sometimes the elephant in the room is that we are a consumer society. Our economy depends on that. In fashion, with the democratization of clothing in the early 20th century, it started to be mass produced, and even a working girl could get a new blouse and skirt. We evolved into an industry with presentations 2 to 4 times a year, and the goal is always, what can we roll out there that is new, that will create this impulse to have something that's newer and different and be constantly upgrading. And so in the apparel industry, reading Women's Wear Daily, even this morning, where you have the high fashion houses becoming more sustainable. This is a more sustainable, $5,000 coat that you must add to your wardrobe. So that's always sort of the elephant in the room, is that we are, as consumers, primed to continually want something new and different. And so this is what I love so much about your book and the conversation we're having, is just to start looking at our consumption in a different way that is actually less just of an impulse and more of consciousness, thoughtfulness, and expressing our values that way.
So let's talk about what and who makes design conscious. So we have pillars of conscious design mentioned before: observation, impact, connection, and legacy. And that is the bulk of what we'll be going through, is each one of those pillars. But I want to jump to who does it. And this is one thing, as a designer, I worked as cog in a wheel, just doing my job, meeting whatever targets I needed to, which was usually make it happen yesterday for less money than we possibly ever could have it done. And so with conscious design, as much as nobody wants to hear this, it is the designer's job, because we are the ones who know the materials, we understand manufacturing processes, we understand how it gets done. We're the butcher in the butcher shop. Everybody else is just buying a sausage. We know how to actually make it happen. And if you want to change that, you have to start with the designer, because we're the ones able to say, well, here's a material, it's close in price and it meets all the same physical requirements as this other material, but it's sustainable. It'll biodegrade or be recyclable. But it doesn't stop there, because it's also, when I think about who is a designer, it's actually everybody involved that makes a critical decision on it, whether it's the CEO coming down and saying, hey, you have to make this half the cost that it was, or marketing saying we have to have this feature because people want this feature. Those are all these, as we all talk about it a little bit, those are those key early decisions. Like you said, Britta, it cascades. When you make a decision here at stage one, it's going to impact the rest of the process. And so while I do put it on to designers initially, the rest of the team got to follow and support it. And what I also want to do is pull off a little bit, because there's a lot of pressure, and has been from everyone, from petroleum, everybody's done it, pushing it, all the sustainability responsibility on the consumer. Oh, you need to recycle more, you need to consume less, you need to do whatever. And while those are good things, if we don't design sustainable products that are good for people, that people actually want, then we're selling them a terrible product that they didn't actually need, and we're just wasting resources all over the place. And that's the opposite of conscious. Conscious is going, here's a product, we decided to design it in the best way possible for people who need it, and it's going to make their lives better. It's going to be easy for them. Make it easy to be recyclable. I don't know about the fashion world, but electronics, they're almost impossible to recycle as an individual. You have to go to a specialty place and go drop it, or take extra time, figure out where to even drop it off, and then hope that they actually do what they say they do, because there's a lot of misinformation about what happens. So it's a complicated process, but it starts with designing it to be conscious. And as designers, it kind of starts with us.
It's a great point.